What's up, my dudes? I'm going to teach you how to do a spell from start to finish, creating a very basic altar. So the first thing you'll need is an altar cloth. This is one that I made. It's dual-sided. You can focus on different spells for each side, or you could just have pretty decorative background. This also has a piece of fire-resistant material in between this material, so it will not burn through. If you're going to be using fire a lot or something with heat, I suggest you do that. This is just a simple dish that is usually made to go in ovens, but this is just something that you can use for your fires. If you don't want this type of dish, or maybe you want something a bit simpler, you can also just use a glass dish. Just make sure you don't have too much fire on it or it'll crack. So the thing that you're going to need after you have a fire resistant work surface is any sort of candles. Now, depending on the practice that you do, you will either use the tea light candles or more of the stockier pillar type candles, or you can use the more slender single candles. Now, I prefer to use a combination of both. This one is more for if you have a larger partition, or maybe if you're out somewhere where you can have a bigger fire, you can use this. This is something that's a bit more discreet, a bit more low maintenance, and something that if you add ingredients to the top of this, it can burn. Or if you're really worried about the candle or the things burning, you could add the ingredients to the bottom. You can have your enchant in there. You can set a candle on top. You can burn it, or you can add other ingredients to the top, and that will be your spell. Each one has their own pros and cons, and each one you can use for different spells, but a candle is the next thing you're going to need for your spell. Now, the next thing you're going to need for your spell is any sort of herbs or spices, or if you would like to, you can add any sort of essential oils or any sort of medicinal oils to this. Now, I'm going to be using mint because this is good for protection, and this is a good beginner herb. It also has other properties, but protection is the main thing that I would use it for if I'm a beginner. We're going to sprinkle this in a clockwise motion. This is for charging. If you are doing any sort of banishing or any sort of removal, you would do it anti-clockwise, and that will be pushing away the effects rather than bringing the effects into the candle. The next herb is rosemary. This is another beginner herb that's pretty easy to get, and most people should have in their practice. It's very easy to work with. It doesn't really burn as intense as other herbs, so you can have this as more of a smoking herb or an incense. If you would like to, you can also waterlog this, and you can have it just simmering. That will be a good addition to any simmer pot if you add rosemary to it. So this is basil. This is another protection herb that I use on a regular basis. This is also something that you can add into an essential oil. This is very good to add to essential oils because it will be very potent. And you could also use it for a multitude of different spells rather than just protection. You can add the oil to different herbs and different spells to add a different effect depending on what you're looking for. So the last thing is any sort of bay leaf or petition paper. You can use either one, and I actually have a video up here that will tell you the difference between both of these. I'm going to use the bay leaf just because this is a smaller spell and it doesn't really require that much energy. So with a bay leaf, I tend to have any sort of sigil or any sort of affirmation on one side, and then I'll have the target on the back side. If you would like to, you can also just have different written intentions on the bay leaf, but these are a bit more fragile and a bit harder to write on, so I would suggest sticking with something that's a bit simpler and something that you don't really have to write a lot of. And for this bay leaf, if you are going to activate something, so if you're putting your ingredients clockwise and you want to activate something into this candle, you can burn the candle on top of this to activate this candle, or if you would like to, you can have the intentions or the sigil on the bottom or just on the bay leaf itself, and you can light it this way. This way is a bit more self-contained, and if you're going to be putting your energies out into the open, or maybe you're doing something that's external, it'll be better to light the bay leaf onto the candle, and then that will start the candle. If you would like to, you can also add different petitions to this, and maybe you can add different ways of adding your petitions to this. So maybe if you want to add it on the bottom, then add your ingredients, you can do that. This is just the way that I tend to do it. Now the next thing to do is to light the candle. Now you can use any color lighter for this, but I like to use different lighters depending on what spell it is. So if you're doing more of a luxury income type based, that would be for the purple. That's a bit more luxury and a bit more income, wealth, that sort of thing. And red is more for strength, building up any sort of intentions or any sort of direct income that you would like to acquire. Each one has their own pros and cons, and obviously there's different colors for different properties, but just using the right color lighter to finish your spell is a good way to not only add color magic into your spell, but also just to keep it a bit more custom. You don't really have to charge the lighter, I just use it by the color, but if you would like to, you can charge the lighter and then you can use it for your spell, but I'm not going to do that. Make sure when you do light your candle that you are in a safe place and it's not somewhere where you can get hurt from the smoke, or if the flame gets out of control, it won't burn everything down. But once you have lit your candle and you're fully done with your spell, you can either create a closed circle, which is to charge the candle to put in more effect, or you can have an open palm, which is more of attracting the